opinions expressed by the host. The views and opinions expressed by the host of this show are his and his alone. They do not reflect those of this network, his employer, any of the universities he attended, his family and friends, or former roommates, any of the 5 Temptations, the 4 Tops, or any number of the Pips. They may or may not reflect those of the other voices in his head. His dog, however, agrees with him 100%. And now, broadcasting from Venture X Studios in Frisco, Texas, it's the Snarky Parenthetical. Here's your host. He's highly caffeinated and mildly irritated. Here's Lathan Watts.
All right, let's rock and roll. Welcome to episode 2 of the Snarky Parenthetical. Thank you all who are checking us out for a second time, giving us another shot. Hopefully we didn't scare you off with the first show. Right here at the top, I want to do just a little bit of housekeeping for the show. If you listened in the last segment last week, I went on a little rant about almond milk and kind of went on a little rabbit trail also about Cheetos. And I sort of said on the show, if anybody can identify the wizard who invented Cheetos, that I would be happy to have you as the first guest on the show. And no one has identified the inventor of Cheetos yet, but I did get a text with some information about the recipe and how Cheetos are made. And that came from Daniel in Carrollton, Texas. And so Daniel Workman will be the very first guest on the Snarky Parenthetical. He also happens to be the closest thing I have in this life to a nephew. His late father was my best friend, Kirk Workman. The ink I have here on my forearm is to keep Kirk with me all the time. So, Daniel, buddy, if you're listening to this one, I know you're on vacation right now, but when you get back in town, we'll get it set up, and you will be the first guest. So, congratulations. You're well on your way to being semi-famous. And another housekeeping note, Stan the Man is out today. He had a church commitment, which I would never want to stand in the way of. So sorry to miss Stan today. So filling in for Stan, the other voice that you will hear occasionally, is the lovely and talented Miss Kathy Ward.
Notice he said occasionally. Like, know your place, woman.
No, not at all. No, chime in anytime. Kathy and I go way back, and I was a guest host on her show this morning, so she's filling in for me this afternoon. So a little quid pro quo, doctor. Quid pro quo. It's my really bad Jodie Foster impression.
I was going to say, wow.
Quid pro quo, for those of you who don't know, that's kind of you scratch my back, I scratch yours, although there will be no actual back scratching involved. Kathy and I are close friends, but we're not that close. Yeah. I don't think either one of our spouses would be cool with that.
No. That would be frowned upon in this establishment.
Yes, I think so. Kim's pretty cool, but I don't think she's that cool. So that is Kathy Ward, who will be playing the role of Stan Corbett today. You know, I joked last week that Stan occasionally identifies as a middle-aged sassy black woman. I just wanted to clarify, he has not started transitioning. That is an actual female voice that you're hearing. It belongs to Kathy Ward. So one other housekeeping note, we are now officially an international phenomenon. We got our first international follower/subscriber on the YouTube channel, Mark Cross down in Australia. Marco, if you're listening to this one, thanks for being the very first listener/viewer from down under. He's an American expat and also my former college roommate that's mentioned in the disclaimer that my views and opinions don't reflect his either. So let's get started. This first segment, we typically talk about kind of, since this comes out on Fridays, kind of stuff that happened in the news the previous week. So this was a short week. We all celebrated Memorial Day on Monday. Everybody hopefully had a good, relaxing Memorial Day. Kathy, did you enjoy the long weekend?
Yes, and very much enjoyed the long weekend. Got to take part in Carry the Load on Sunday and Kilroy's Conversation. Got to do a special broadcast from the Katy Trail out in Dallas. So that was what an honor, and just Great organization.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great organization.
And I asked that question specifically because our vice president commemorated Memorial Day with a tweet that simply said, "Enjoy the long weekend." Now, I get that Twitter only gives you, what, like 280 characters, something like that? But you couldn't spare one or two words to say anything about the men who have died defending this country.
They give you the right to put that out on Twitter?
Exactly.
And give you this long weekend?
Enjoy the long weekend.
Oh, I'm with you on that. That was so messed up.
I think the V in VP now stands for vapid.
Yes. Yes. And then it was a picture of herself.
Of course it was.
Even people who who love putting pictures of themselves on Facebook were even putting flags or the boots with the gun and the helmet, something that represented the people who lost their lives.
Exactly. So the V in Veep now stands for vapid. This woman could not be any more of an empty pantsuit if she lived in Hillary Clinton's closet.
It took me a second. I was like, oh, wait, yeah, that's right.
Okay. A little jump grenade for you. Just toss that out there. So also this week, former President Obama said we really shouldn't be worrying about debt and deficits, that spending $6, $8, $10 trillion on whatever is more important. First of all, please, no one tell the president that there's a number higher than trillion. Second, if our budget gets any more bloated or insane, it could co-host The View.
and that's one of those words. It's like in Harry Potter, he's who shall not be spoken, or the name who shall not be spoken. I can't remember right now. That's how I feel about the show. That show that shall not be mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. And I bring these things up really as specific instances to kind of draw out a bigger point, and that is what I call the celebritization of politics. And I think it's incredibly bad for our political system. When we start treating politicians like celebrities, and you could say it sort of culminated in electing a celebrity as president and then getting mad at him when he continues to act like a celebrity. When he goes on Twitter and starts fights and gets into Twitter spats with other celebrities. What did you expect? You elected a reality TV show host as your president. Now, that's not a comment on any of his policies or anything else that he did. It's more, as I say, a comment about this culture where we have turned our elected officials into celebrities, and we treat them like celebrities, and we sort of follow them like celebrities, and they're not. At least they're not supposed to be. They're supposed to be public servants. They're supposed to work for us. And I think it's really bad for the country to look at these people like, well, it's just another way to become famous. I think lots of people are just desperate to be famous for anything.
Well, it's that attention. Lathan, I think of, and having been a classroom teacher back in the day, you had the kids, and you had them when you were in school, that even if they get negative attention from the teacher,
still attention,
and bingo, that's all they care about.
And like the whole thing about there's no such thing as bad press. Yes, there is.
Yes, I can tell you that.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Okay, that is a bold-faced lie. There is such a thing as bad press. And the celebritization of politics, at least in sort of the I think it's kind of it may have always been a factor in politics, but I think in the sort of what I would say kind of the modern era of politics, I was the weird kid, in grade school that watched the news and couldn't wait to vote and followed politics and all of that stuff. In my lifetime anyway, I go back and I sort of spot this becoming a thing with Bill Clinton going on the Arsenio Hall show, playing saxophone with the band.
Yes. And because when did he talk about boxers or briefs? Remember that was a whole thing. Was that same show?
No, it wasn't that show. That was an MTV Rock the Vote.
That's it.
Kind of town hall style.
Yeah.
Where, one of the people asked him boxers or briefs. And my
that's
reaction,
what you ask a future president of the United States.
That was my reaction even back then. You want to know why politicians ignore young people? Because when you get a chance to ask the potential next leader of the free world, you ask him what kind of underwear he wears. That's why they ignore young people. You don't take yourself seriously. Why should they take you seriously? You show up to the Rock the Vote concert because the Dave Matthews Band is playing, which would have been back then, but can't drag yourself out of bed to go vote.
Yeah.
So
which works in the conservative favor sometimes.
Sometimes, hey, we do it too.
Oh,
we do it too.
Yep.
You know, we love elected officials or politicos that that are quote savages on Twitter, or they own the libs or whatever. I'd much rather you be boring and get something done. I don't need you to be funny. There's plenty of funny people. I don't need you to be a celebrity.
No.
I'm more interested in, are you capable of doing the job and getting some things accomplished? And I don't care who you're dating. Right? I don't care what designer you're wearing, nor should really anybody for that matter. So yeah, I think it goes back, at least in the modern era. Clinton with the black shades playing sax on the Arsenio Hall show like some hick version of the Blues Brothers. And then
chicks dug it though. Oh gosh, Lathan, remember?
Yeah, they did.
Chicks lost. There were women who were like, "Oh, well, I'm voting for him just because he's sexy." And I'm like, "Oh."
I think it was James Carville that said Bill Clinton wanted to be a rock star and he settled for being president.
There you go.
Because he certainly lived like a rock star.
Oh yes, he did. Yes,
we don't even have to get into all the stuff he did in the Oval Office.
Yes, he did.
Right?
Enough said.
Okay. So, I think we're coming up on the end of segment 1 there.
Yep.
All right. So, so that's, like I said, just a little bit of a recap, some of the things that went on during the past week and my take on them. This next segment I wanted to do, when I announced I was going to do this show, I took a little informal poll on some of my Facebook friends and asked them, should I do it? What should we talk about? And one of the suggestions that came up, really good friend of mine from law school days, a classmate, and genuinely one of the funniest people I've ever known, named Richie Bond. Bond, if you're listening to this, here you go. He suggested we should talk about the death of comedy. And Richie, as I said, is one of the naturally most funny people I've ever been around. It's probably 2 times in my life that I laughed so hard I thought I was going to throw up. And one of them was with Kirk Workman, and the other was with Richie Bond. And so, Bond, this is for you, the death of comedy. I was thinking about this, and I pulled up a list of Mel Brooks movies. And I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm going to hit maybe 3 or 4 of my favorites. Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein,
yes,
The Producers, and Spaceballs. Of those 4 Mel Brooks movies, which of them could get made currently in our current cultural climate? None of them.
Yeah.
End of segment.
Period.
Right? Like, that's it.
That's
you just couldn't do it. You could not do it today.
Not one of them.
No, none of them.
Not even a watered down version. Really?
No, they'd be about 5 minutes long when you took out all the stuff that people would be offended by.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, I think about a movie like Blazing Saddles. And we all, if you've seen it, recently or even, in the past few years, there's probably some lines that come to mind about the new sheriff in town. And the thing about that movie, Mel Brooks wrote that, and he worked with Richard Pryor on it.
Right.
And I think Richard Pryor was originally going to play the sheriff.
See, and I'd always heard that. I don't know that for sure.
I've heard that. I've read it. I think for some reason there was a conflict. He couldn't do it, or he had another project or whatever. Yeah. And so he recommended the guy that they actually put in the movie.
Because Richard Pryor, I could totally see him having played that role to a T. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the guy who did it did a fantastic job.
Oh, yes.
He and Gene Wilder.
They were so great together.
It was perfect. But they wrote that, and this is why it's so sad to me to see this sort of political. Before it was woke or cancel culture, we called it political correctness.
Yes.
And what it's done to the art of comedy, because there are racist jokes in that movie, right? But they're making fun of the racism. That was the whole point. They wrote the movie. And they wrote these racist attitudes and these things into this film in order to make fun of them, to mock them, to take the sting out of them, which takes the power away from them. That was the whole point.
Right.
Excuse me. That's why, and Brooks is a master of this. That's why, like in The Producers, he writes a Hitler musical. Like, now, if there's anybody that somebody could make a case for, you know what, I don't really think we ought to make jokes about this guy, it's probably Hitler. Yeah. Yes. But not to Mel Brooks.
Yeah.
Mel Brooks, who, as far as I know, is an observant Jew.
Yes.
Says, no.
We're going this route.
We're gonna do this, and we're gonna make fun of Hitler, and we're gonna joke about it, and I'm gonna write a show within the show.
Yeah.
That is Springtime for Hitler, the musical.
Yes.
Complete with a song and dance number. Like, I don't know anybody in today's, climate, culture, whatever you want to call it, who would have the guts to do something like that. And I think we're all worse off for it. It's like, it's like we said on the first show. Like, if you decide that something cannot be joked about, then that something, whatever it is, has power over you.
Right.
And I think Mel Brooks, was the master of, you will not have this power over me because I will laugh in your face.
Right.
And it's like, there's two ways to deal with a bully, right? If he's making fun of you and you laugh along with him, it doesn't really, really hurt you.
Yeah, the power's taken away.
Yeah. And eventually you might just have to punch the guy in the face. Well, right. That's the other way you deal with a bully.
Girls are a little bit different. Maybe you pull a ponytail.
Right. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and real quick, because if you think about it, letting somebody have that power, like I'm the first person to make fun of myself. You know what? Sure, we can go with the dumb blonde joke. By the way, my roots are brown. So go figure. And, if you can't make fun of yourself, you're taking yourself way too seriously.
Yeah. Which to me then, just paints a giant target on you as someone who is begging to be made fun of. The guy or girl who really takes themselves seriously. I mean, Will Ferrell has made a career out of playing basically the same character in every movie, which is a total buffoon who takes himself really seriously. Yes. Right? I mean, that's Ron Burgundy to a T.
Oh, yeah. Well, and even you go back to SNL, his Spartan cheerleader.
Absolutely.
The most serious, we're at a chess competition.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Spartan spirit, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's where he discovered, this works.
Yes.
This works. And then in virtually every movie that he did after that, that was the character. It was set, in different personalities and different time periods or whatever.
Old school.
Yeah. Complete buffoon, taking himself really, really seriously.
Step Brothers, my goodness.
Of course.
Yeah. Even his version of Darren in Bewitched.
Yeah. I mean, it's like he can't help it.
Yeah.
I mean, the maybe the one exception that sort of proves the rule is Elf. Where he is genuinely just a pure,
one of the best movies ever. Yes,
spirit.
Yep.
Yep. Who happens to take Christmas very seriously.
Yes.
But he's not taking himself very seriously,
yes.
Right? And for me, it became an instant, Christmas classic. There's about 3 movies that I have to see every Christmas season. There's Elf.
Absolutely.
Christmas Story.
Amen.
National Lampoon Christmas Vacation.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
It is not Christmas if I've not seen those 3 movies.
Those are so fantastic. We do
some people
where you run
house.
That on
It's a Wonderful Life. Not at my house.
Yeah,
no, it's Chevy Chase going on a swear lane rant when he gets his Jelly of the Month Club subscription.
And you'll shoot your eye out, kid.
Exactly.
And my kids, a few Christmases back, got Red Ryder BB guns.
Oh yeah.
And we hit them behind at the end.
Yeah.
Did it just like they did in A Christmas Story.
Yeah,
so much
I think
fun.
that's why I love that movie so much, because I even if it wasn't Red Ryder, but I clearly remember getting that first BB gun at Christmas. And my dad did the same thing. It was hidden like over behind a chair somewhere, and before the end of the day, I was out in the snow shooting, tin cans or something.
Yeah.
Anything that would stay still long enough, I was firing.
Squirrel tail.
Yeah. So yeah. So Bon, I do think to a certain extent, cancel culture, whatever you want to call it, wokeism, PC, has really taken the wind out of the sails of comedy. However, I do think we're at maybe a turning point where it is coming back. I think there are some people out there. I know several years ago Seinfeld said he would never do another college campus because because of the woke climate, the offended sensibilities, and it's just not worth the hassle. I think it was Bill Burr's most recent Netflix special was filmed in London, I think, if I remember that correctly.
It was, and brilliant.
Yeah, and he I don't even remember what the joke was, but it was like the nervous laughter from the crowd, and he went off on the crowd. He's like, this is why we can't do this stuff, like, because that's funny, but you're scared to laugh at it. And then he sort of makes the joke like, and this is probably my last special. So I think and I hope that it is sort of coming back because it can be some of the best social commentary out there. I think when Dave Chappelle, the 2 seasons his show was on the air,
brilliant how he
absolutely genius.
Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely genius. And it demonstrates sort of the point of how smart you have to be to do that well and do it right. Because he made his point with some of those sketches, but he wasn't browbeating you. He wasn't, beating you over the head with it. He made you really laugh hard, but he gave you something to think about.
Yeah. And there's just, it goes to show you really do have to have a unique type of genius to know how to handle humor, because Dave Chappelle's he gets in and he gets out.
Yep.
It's real smooth transition. You're like sometimes I'll be like, oh my, wait, should I laugh? Is that funny? Oh my God, did he just say that? It takes you off guard, you know?
And then he did
a
series, I think it was like 3 different Netflix specials within about a year and a half. And I mean, they were all fantastic. And he was even more, I would say, pointed with his kind of political commentary in those shows, but they were still so funny. And so I hope maybe we're turning the corner there. So there's our sort of middle/entertainment segment on the death of comedy. We might return to that subject because it's one that I'm passionate about. Feel free, on our Facebook page, Snarky Parenthetical, chime in, give some comments. And that brings us to our final segment, where I talk about things that are mildly irritating to me. Okay, so a few weeks ago, I'm waiting to get my hair cut, and I'm clearly due for another one. If you can see this mop of hair on top of my head, I'm borderline now like an even paler, slightly less talented version of Conan O'Brien at this point. Like, it's just not quite as tall as Conan's, but just for the record, I'm calling you out, Conan O'Brien. You are no longer the palest man in media. That title, I'm claiming it. All right. Like he's listening, right? But
you never know.
You never know. Somebody, tweet the show
Conan.
at him. Tweet the show at him.
Share the show.
Yeah, I'm now claiming the title of palest man in media. You don't have to go to the beach to get a tan. Just stand next to me. If I was any paler, I'd be opaque. I once got a moon burn, Conan. Top that. Okay. Anyway, so I'm waiting to get my hair cut, and on the TV in the lobby, they got ESPN on, and Jesse Palmer comes on screen to do a live remote from somewhere. And I don't have anything personally against Jesse Palmer. He just happened to be the guy who was on the screen that sort of demonstrates this principle that really bugs me. Okay. He's like male model good looking, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
He's there.
I think he was on an episode of The Bachelor.
I think he was.
I think he was. Like, I think that's where he kind of got famous, was from that. I don't think he married the chick that he proposed to or something like that. Probably not.
Do they ever?
How does that work out?
Yeah.
Out of like 29 seasons, I think you got 3 marriages.
Yeah. So there's Jesse Palmer in this immaculately fitted suit. I mean, well-tailored, perfectly tailored, in fact, suit. The shirt and tie combo is on point. The shirt is so fitted, if you dropped a quarter in this dude's pocket, you could probably read the date on it.
I love that.
Then you get up, he's got like the 2 or 3 day shadow, which is a look. I get it. All right. He's even got a little white in there. No problem with that. I got white in mine. But then you go above the forehead and you've got the messy do. Now, if you're old enough, I don't care about your chronological age, but if you are old enough to have white hair on your face, you are old enough to have a grown man's haircut. You are not fooling anybody, Jesse Palmer, or any of the other guys on TV that rock the same thing, okay? This isn't really a personal attack on Jesse Palmer. But, dude, you're not fooling anybody, right? The whole rest of your look says you put time and effort into looking like this.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody thinks that you're nonchalant about your hair. You spent more time in front of the mirror and probably more money on hair care products than I spend on on car maintenance to get your hair just to the point where it's every little hair is out of place in the exact right way. And look, I'm so nonchalant. I'm a devil-may-care attitude about my hair. You are the exact opposite of nonchalant. That is chalant. I don't even know if that's a word.
I was going to say, is that a thing?
I may have just invented a word.
Hashtag it, chalant.
Yep. Might have just invented a word.
I like
That's
that.
a first for the show. First invented word. Shakespeare invented a lot. I'm not claiming to be Shakespeare, but I'm just saying people can invent words. Okay, and we might have just now.
Chalant.
The chalant hairdo. Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Strategically chalant.
I'm not a fan. Yeah.
Because it's that strategically, it's supposed to look like I just rolled out of bed and this is what my hair looks like.
Right?
No.
Let me tell you who pulls that off is Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Harrison Ford's hair is always it's just a little bit mussed. Always.
It's been like that in every movie,
Everything.
Every major character.
You see him on the red carpet, that's who
him.
he is.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't think, I buy it from him.
I think he did just get out of bed.
He's just like,
He's like,
this is me.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. I'm a good actor. I was Han Solo. What are you doing? Right? Okay. Seeing my image here, and I realized that I forgot to announce the show's sponsor for this week. And maybe you've picked up on the fact that until I get some real sponsors, I'm just inventing them. But today's show is brought to you by Vandalay Industries, importer-exporter of fine latex and latex-related goods. I've only met one potential latex salesman for the company. I was not impressed. So there you go, Seinfeld fans. Everybody else, sorry, gonna have to look it up.
And it's worth it.
It is.
Art Vandalay, look him up.
Art Vandalay.
Wiki him.
Yeah, exactly. Vandalay Industries, importer, exporter. I think they're going to tone down the exports and just focus on the imports.
Yeah.
I think was
it
was a big business decision.
I was like, we're just focusing on this.
It was a big deal.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, Costanza was going to be their latex salesman. So there you go. There's our show sponsor for this week. So Jesse, man, just get a grown man's haircut. That's all I'm really asking. Just, it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to. I mean, just part your hair, dude. I mean,
pick a side.
Yeah, either one. And look, I know I'm the last person to sort of talk about parting your hair because my hair grows in about 6 different directions. Okay, this massive cowlick up here, 2 or 3 more in the back. I put the headphones on and now I've got like the pompadour up here, which again, Conan, I'm coming for you. All right, mine's blonde now, but it used to be red when I was a kid. So I'm the new palest man in media with the semi-red pompadour until I get a haircut.
I've got hair products that can make it total pompadour.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We can do that next Friday if you want.
Yeah, that's a potential bit, and there's nothing wrong with a sight gag every now and then. How tall will Lathan's hair be this week?
How many inches?
Yeah. We'll see if I can spend as much time on my hair as Jesse Palmer does.
Yeah, because he spends time. You don't literally, those suits don't come just off the rack. Those are specially fit. Everything's strategic. And it's so funny because when you and I were talking about this, I started looking through all the different sports guys. And this is what makes me crazy. I know this is your show, but I've got to talk about the nice suits where they're spending thousands of dollars.
Don't get me started on footwear.
That's where I'm going.
Don't even get me started. No,
you know what I'm talking about.
Wear a grown man's shoes. You're a grown man.
I was like,
You're
my
in a
son
suit
wore those
on
in
TV.
3rd grade track.
Yes. There is no such thing as this hybrid Oxford with, the white sole of a sneaker. It's one or the other.
And they're perfectly clean. Like they literally had somebody, it looks like they just had them put on their feet while they were sitting on the director's
exactly.
chair.
There's not a mark on them.
Yeah. I'm like, that's not
everybody
real.
knows you bought these. It's not, yes. I'm drawing a line in the sand. This is as serious as the Alamo. I'm drawing a line in the sand, okay? You want to rock a suit and kicks, okay. Do it. I wouldn't. I think it violates, fundamental rules of how a man should be groomed and dressed. But pick one, okay? Pick one. It's either that or it's a real man's dress shoe, right? An Oxford, a cap toe, whatever you want to call it.
Wingtip, whatever. Yeah,
wingtip,
something, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, what's wrong with a wingtip?
Yeah.
I mean, you're wearing a suit, wear a wingtip. So, yeah. So sorry, Jesse, it's not personal. again, like he's listening or cares.
But if he does, please share it. We did talk about it. He's obviously in great shape, or else we wouldn't be talking about tailored suits.
Yeah, I mean, he could clearly mop the floor with me, right? So actually, maybe not share it. I don't know. I don't want him making a special trip to Texas, just to come,
Where's that
take me to the
Lathan?
woodshed.
Where's that snarky parenthetical
exactly.
kid?
Where's the guy who thinks he's funnier than Conan O'Brien and paler too? I got a thing or two to teach him. There's some undeniable truths in life that I've crafted, and one of them, when it comes to guys and grooming, is look, you should be impeccably groomed from the Adam's apple up, okay? And from the Adam's apple down, unless you're an Olympic swimmer, you shouldn't be groomed, okay? You're a man, right? It just comes with the gig.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
We don't do that. If you're an Olympic swimmer, I'll give you a pass. That you can, if there's maybe some other Olympic sports where the hair on your legs is going to be the difference between gold and silver, then okay.
Yeah,
All
if it shaves off 0.0002 seconds, and you get the gold, rock and roll.
Yeah. The only other exception I might go for, I don't even know this guy's name. I just see him in the gym occasionally. After a workout, everybody's in the locker room, and this dude is just like, he looks like he's wearing a Bigfoot costume. I mean, he is just fur from head to toe, but he shaves like his neck and like the top of his shoulders, because nobody wants to see that puffing out. When you're wearing a shirt. That's kind of, you're taking one for the team. For the rest of us, because we don't want to see that either.
Yeah, that's all good.
That may be a minor exception, but for the most part, dudes, groom from the Adam's apple up and not from the Adam's apple down. I'm not gonna even go down the path of the female equivalent, because I have nothing to say about that. That won't get me into serious trouble at home. All right. So I think we have sufficiently offended enough people. Hopefully, maybe made you laugh a little bit. I don't know. But we had fun. Hope you did.
I had a good time.
Kathy, thanks for filling in for Stan.
Oh, anytime.
Stan the Man will be back next week, as far as I know. And this has been the Snarky Parenthetical. I'm Lathan Watts. We're highly caffeinated, mildly irritated. Thanks for listening. Check us out. We'll be back next week.